Hi, we are continuing our book club discussion on the Brave and Beloved book. And today we're talking about the chapter on Sarah. The chapter starts out with Genesis 12, where Abram is sending his wife Sarai, at that time was her name, to the Pharaoh. And God strikes the Pharaoh with a plague because he takes Sarai as his wife. So, um, my first thoughts when I read this was I was kind of angry at Abram. It's revealing that he's scared, and it sounds like he's putting his wife in a compromising situation, and the things that she likely has to endure and all of that. And I'm just wondering, like, what is Abram thinking, and why did he make this decision? There has to be so much more there to the story. So later in the Bible study in the book, the author presents some reflection in the questions and guides us to Genesis 20, where Abraham kind of repeats the same thing but with a different king. And I encourage you to actually really read that because it helped to give me a deeper window into maybe what Abraham was thinking um, earlier with the Pharaoh. Um, and also, it shows more detail of God's response because God approaches the king and says, basically, do not touch Sarah, and I will give you an opportunity to not further sin against me. And, Abraham will pray for you and heal you and your family if you release Sarah. Um, which was interesting to me that God was still holding him accountable because the king said, God, I didn't know. They said that they were siblings, not that they were husband and wife. And more's revealed also about Abraham and Sarah's relationship, which I encourage you to read more of that chapter to discover that. But it it's stating, here's God's perspective on this. But God still was going to hold the king accountable, even though he innocently believed that, Sarah was able to be a bride and took her as a bride. He did not have sex with her, he did not touch her yet. It states that. And if he would have, there would have been further consequences. God says, then, here's the consequence if you do that. So to me, it actually showed here are some of the bounds and the cares that God has, one of a woman's body, uh, of the sacredness of marriage, um, and how much God values and preserves that, even if someone is unknowingly uh, causing harm to that sacred covenant there. And at this point, God also is in covenant with Abraham and Sarah, which is the point at which her name changes. Uh, Once Sarai's name changes to Sarah is when God commands Abraham to refer to her as Sarah. And it's just after God makes the covenant with her. Um, so Sarai, in my research, means my princess, and Sarah means the princess. So going from my princess, which is, someone's possession, to the princess, and God referring to her that way. So it's interesting, those changes in name and God speaking that as well. Uh, there's a lot more, I think, to glean from Genesis 20, and encourage you to read that. And please share some of your thoughts. I'd love to hear some different angles of all of this, including if you got angry too, or maybe you're still angry and wondering, what is this husband and wife relationship like? Abraham also speaks to some of the things that he addressed to Sarah before all of this unfolded, even before the Pharaoh. So he actually says to her that, uh, it's an opportunity for her to show her love to Abraham, to refer to him as his brother. Um, and there isn't deceit happening, but I encourage you to read it to find out like what the actual history and relationship is there. Um, but yeah, it helped to maybe think a bit more deeply about what's going on there. The last piece I want to speak to weave into all of this is, um, in Genesis 20, it also says in Abraham's response to the king after God approaches the king and says, "Do not do this." The king then confronts Abraham and basically says, "Why did you do this to me? What did I do to deserve this?" And he said, "I did not feel that there was fear of God here in this kingdom." And God refers to Abraham to the king as his prophet. And it had me thinking that, did Abraham see this as an opportunity to, you know, put his faith and trust in God? Um, and also for Sarah to do that, and Sarah to show her devotion and her faithfulness, yes, to Abraham and also to God. Um, but also for Abraham to create an opportunity where God's power and authority and majesty are revealed to this other kingdom, because in the end it says, Abimelek the king, he responded appropriately as God requested of him, and he released them and also blessed them with more slaves and more possessions and more gifts. um, and then Abraham prayed for his healing. So it it sort of has a similar feel to how Jesus would also respond to, um, reveal God's majesty through miracles and those workings. Um, and maybe I'm going too far to make some of those leaps, but we also see that with any of the prophets too in the Old Testament, that they are revealing some of their uh, God's miracles as his power and his authority there. So yes, what are your thoughts? I'd love to hear more. If you haven't joined the book club, take a look below or go to my profile. Also, if you need the book, you can go there as well.